about Garnacho. So he's 20 years old, 2028. We both have him as somebody you move on. He is a natural winger, and there are no natural wingers in the system. He's also on a very low wage for a guy who's, Argentine international, played so much. And he has a long...
Hasn't kicked on, and he's a very frustrating player, Garnacho. You're right, he's a winger who doesn't particularly... Well, his assist numbers are terrible this year. I think, is it 1 assist in the Premier League, if that? His decision-making, again, really poor. He'll shoot too soon. He'll delay a cross. He'll cross... I just don't see any point in sticking with Alejandro Garnacho. I don't think he's a player that will develop.
Let's talk about a couple of United players who are not there, but are on their books. Obviously, the issue with Antony is his transfers, not so much his wages. As you point out, his wages are not very big.
Yeah.
But is his massive fee and how much of, I think his unamortized value, because this, he said 2 seasons, or is it?
This is his 3rd season, he's got 2 left.
Okay, so that basically means that you need to get 40 million for him.
No, around 30. It was an 80 million pound side.
I'm speaking in euros, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
40 million.
The empire's over. You need to get around 40 million, 35 to 40 million.
Yeah.
Right? You're not going to get that. Necessarily not from Betis. I don't think you're going to get that from anybody based on a couple months with all the bad press he's had before and whatever. I think what you can do, what I would do, is you do a loan with an obligation to buy. And the advantage of that is that the obligation to buy can be maybe 20 million.
Yeah.
A year from now, Betis can pay that, and if it is Betis, and they can be happy, and then he's gone. Jadon Sancho, he's on loan at Chelsea.
Yeah.
He has a year left plus a year option. That loan has this complicated, weirdo obligation to buy at a fee. I think it's between 20 and 25 million pounds this time. And then if Chelsea decide to send him back, they have to pay a £5 million loan fee. I think Chelsea will take him.
They could extend the loan, to be honest.
Sorry?
They could extend the loan, couldn't they?
And I think from Chelsea's perspective, certainly if I were Chelsea, I would keep him. I would look around at my wingers and I would see Neto and Madueke and Mudryk from his holiday and Joao Felix threatening to come back. And I would say, oh my God, I want this guy back. Marcus Rashford.
Yeah.
He's on loan at Aston Villa. You looked at his numbers and you think he's done badly. Emery would say, Lou, look at where we've progressed to in the FA Cup, where we're in the final, in the Champions League, where we nearly knocked out mighty Paris Saint-Germain, in the Premier League, where we're neck and neck for that 5th spot, and 6 might even get us back in. Marcus Rashford's my guy. He's done fine.
3 goals in 18 games as we record.
Not a centre forward.
We're doing this before.
Not a centre forward.
No, but listen, I said this earlier this week. There's a bit of gaslighting going on with Marcus Rashford. I think that the Rashford PR camp is trying to suggest that he's had a great time. He's rehabilitated himself.
That nice lady, really?
Rehabilitated himself at Aston Villa.
You know what I'm talking about. You were just terrified of her.
I'm not terrified of anybody, but it's more about a broader picture of people who are talking about. Look, 3 goals in 18 games. I was at both PSG games. The first PSG game in Paris, he ran a lot, shot for the ball, didn't get it, didn't do anything. The second leg at Villa Park, first half he was terrible, lost the ball for the first goal that PSG scored. Second half he had 20 minutes where he was on fire. And it seems that 20 minutes has turned him into, Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. It's 2 of his 3 goals were against Preston in the FA Cup. I don't think he's done enough. Aston Villa aren't going to commit a £40 million fee and even half of his £300,000 a week wage to keep him. They're just not. So he's going to end up back at United training in the summer. He thinks he's got a chance of going to Barcelona. I mean, look, do you want to tell him or do I that you've got Lamine Yamal on one side, you've got Rafinha on the other, and even if he doesn't like
Lewandowski's old, maybe he'll play centre forward.
He hates playing centre forward. He keeps saying that. So
Danny Olmo's always injured. Maybe he'll play number 10. But I don't know. I generally don't know. We both agree he shouldn't be a man. United should try to move him out. Mm-hmm. The question is, how much do they want to lose?
The very, very slim possibility that Amorim takes him back. Do you think that's workable? Do you think there's any future at United for him?
I think if Amorim believed he could work with him, he would have kept him around and rotated him in that 10 slot, which has been a rotating cast of characters. That's a call for Amorim. If Amorim says, hey, look, Marcus comes back, and then if it doesn't work out, we'll have a conversation in January, I'm okay with it. I think at this point you have to defer to what Amorim wants to do.
Having said he'd rather play his goalkeeping coach at 63 ahead of Rashford, that I don't think there's a way back, but we have to consider the possibility.
I think you can work out a deal with Villa.
Ollie Watkins involved?
I wouldn't take Watkins. I think with this younger team, it's nothing against Watkins, but I think United are building towards something.
But is that what United need right now? Somebody that has got the age and experience in the Premier League now to be able to bridge the gap? Because they've got a lot of young forwards who clearly aren't ready. Do you need somebody that's been around a bit and done it? Swap deals don't really happen, but I'm just thinking out of the box here.
I mean, I know it was 40 million. Was that what they negotiated as like the option to buy or from
Rashford?
Yeah, for Rashford.
Yeah.
Look, I think you might have to accept the fact that maybe you just give him away. Rasmus Højlund, 22 years old, 2028, plus a year extension. I let you take this one. I think you called him the worst center forward you've ever seen at Old Trafford.
Yeah, and I don't say that with any kind of relish. I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for the kid because 2 years ago, at 20 years old, he was offered his dream move to Man United from Atalanta. What can you do? You have to take it, but it wasn't his fault they paid a basic £64 million for him. Way, way overpriced. He hasn't got the game to play for. I don't think he would play for any. He wouldn't start for any Premier League team outside the bottom three. That is how bad he is. His runs are straight lines. He's got no kind of nuance to his game. His finishing is obviously poor.
Okay. You've established all this that he's not good.
Yeah.
So what can you do with him?
You're going to have to loan him out. Yeah, because
you're not going to get any money back for him, and given his fee was so high, again, and he's only been there, like 18 months?
Two seasons.
Like two seasons. So
I keep being told that there's a residual value because he's still got a high reputation in Italy. I don't buy that. There's no way that anyone in Italy is going to spend
he was only in Italy for 6 months.
Exactly.
I mean,
it cost £64 million. Nobody's going to give United.
I mean, mind you, agent John Murta is at Atalanta now, right? He's on his way there, right?
Yeah. I'd be very surprised if he ends up at Atalanta. But,
okay, I will make my case for Xerxes.
Go on.
I think you keep him, and the reason you keep him is he's tried him in the 10 role. He's obviously a very unorthodox player. We've made that point. I think you ask Amorim, can you work with him? I think there's certain situations where his skill set can actually work. He can create mismatches with his size. He has a technical ability. Is he super quick? No. Does he hold the ball up well? No. But that's not a job that a number 10 needs to do. He's a good passer of the ball. I think you keep him as part of that rotation of the 10s. Højlund's straightforward. Højlund is this, right?
Yeah.
Højlund's not going to evolve. Xerxes, you don't know. He could have a much higher ceiling, or this could be it. So I think you keep Xerxes.
I think with Amad Diallo chucked in as well, I just think you keep him as a bench one, but he's not good enough.
All right, looking at our ultimate midfield, which is probably the sorest spot. Now, for those who don't watch Manchester United, we should point out that on the way we're going to do this is it's a 3-4-2-1 system. One of those is Manuel Ugarte, who obviously has played for Amorim at Sporting, so we all assume he's always in the side. I don't think he's great, but you spend a lot of money for him. He's got a long-term contract. He knows the system. He stays, yeah?
Yeah. And he's better than what they had. He is an upgrade on what they had, so it's a gradual improvement in that area.
All right. The other player who played that position this year is Casemiro. He's 33, 2026, plus a year's option.
Yeah.
I think he's done okay towards the end, maybe. Ideally, he's not part of your future. You would move him on. But again, big wages, it's hard to see how you're going to do that.
Well, Amorim has said recently that he's worked out how to play Casemiro now. He plays him in a certain way that doesn't expose him too much to a lot of running and people running at him. The situation with Casemiro, I think, depends a lot on what happens in the Europa League. If they win the Europa League and get back in the Champions League, I think United will then be able to find somebody to replace him with and try and move him on. If they don't win the Europa League and have no European football next year, it might just be worth having him around because he won't play many games. He'll have a lot of time in between games to rest, and you could drop him in and out. And I think having that experience around wouldn't be the worst idea. But they're stuck with him, really. But I do think you can find a role for Casemiro next season if they're not in Europe.
Toby Collier, youngster, 21 years old, 2027. He's got an extra year. He's played a little bit. He was billed as a defensive midfielder. I've seen him play as attacking midfield as well in certain situations. He's an extra body to keep around, right? Kobbie Mainoo. Now, a lot of people had penciled him in. They're like, Mainoo and Ugarte, that's going to be your two in front of the back three. You don't like this.
Listen, Kobbie Mainoo is a talented player. He's got great ability on the ball. He can score a goal. But and we had this discussion a lot. He's not very mobile, and I think in an Amorim team in the middle of the pitch, you need a midfielder who can, I don't know, Declan Rice style, or even peak Jordan Henderson who can get around the pitch.
You need to cover for the wing backs, I think, is one of the biggest jobs you do.
I just wonder if Kobe Mainoo's a square peg in a round hole in this team, and all the stories we've heard about United maybe considering offers for him because he's a homegrown player. If he was to move on, it'd be sad because he's a homegrown player and he's talented, but I don't think he fits the system. So there's a problem though with Mainoo. What would you do with him?
I think you keep him. You have that 2-year window, and you see Mason Mount is the other one. 26 years old, deal through 2028 plus one. Obviously, you cannot move him because you paid a fortune for him, and he's been injured. Should we count on him as a squad player? Can he contribute? Could he, if he stays fit, could he even start for this team?
Amorim likes him, and I think he will try and find a way to get him in the team. I don't know where in this strange system of his, but Amorim really likes him. And when he does, when Mount has been involved in recent weeks, he looks a player that's got a bit of technical ability about him. He does stand out in a bad team as a player that can actually do something, but it's keeping him fit.
Christian Eriksen, he's being released on a free. I think that's obvious. Yes.
Yeah, the point I made about Eriksen is that, he's served United well for the 3 years he's been there, considering the deal he got him on from Brentford. They would love a United an Eriksen at 25 years old. But,
ain't going to happen.
No.
And that leaves us Bruno Fernandes, who, of course, extended his contract. He's a deal through 2027, plus a year option. There's no question you're not getting a new deal, Bruno. He's played at 10. He's played in front of the back four. I think he should always play at 10. He's played, but regardless where he plays, he's generally United's best player. I think this is, and we'll get to this, it's so important that they bring in one or two central midfielders that can make that central midfield work so that Bruno can play closer to the goal.
Yeah.
Because he's also such a good assist man and finisher, yeah?
I mean, Bruno's done so well this year. He's played with the cape as well as anything else because he's been absolutely United's only player that they can rely upon. Amad
Diallo, I think, has been a hit, an absolute hit until he got injured, and we have penciled him in as one of the 10s. Now, he played in kind of that wing-back role a little bit at the very, very beginning of Amorim's tenure. I think he can do that too if you want to go with a little bit what he had towards the end with Kenda. But he's a smart kid. He got the system very, very quickly. He is a guy like Bruno that, is a solid building block.
Absolutely.
So he's a straight keep because and hopefully he gets fit soon. Let's move on to our defenders. We have a lot of players who we're keeping here because either they just arrive, very straightforward. Lenny Yoro is a keep. Matthijs de Ligt is a keep. Now, we don't love de Ligt, or you don't love de Ligt. I like de Ligt. He's been up and down, but I think he is improving in this system. It's a moot point anyway. You spend a fortune on him, and his contract is until 2029 anyway. He ain't going anywhere, right?
No, and he's been a reliable soldier, shall we say. He's in a bad season, he's one of the few that stood up and actually delivered.
Harry Maguire, whether we agree with it or not, is a keep because Amorim had them extend his contract by another year to 2026.
And he's United's best centre forward right now.
Yeah, exactly. Luke Shaw, 29 years old, 2027. He's a keep, but for different reasons.
Well, he's a keep because I think you'd find it very difficult to find somebody to take him on. But, I mean, I've been told that his wages aren't as high as people might think because he's on more performance-related pay and because he doesn't play very often, doesn't get paid very often. So I think when he does play, and it isn't very often, he looks like a very good player. And I think Amorim would like to see Shaw available. But it's a sad story, Luke Shaw. He's had a lot of injury. I just don't think he's reliable to play. You can't build your team around Luke Shaw because he doesn't stay fit long enough. So I think you're stuck with him, really. And
either way,
he stays fit.
We agree. You're keeping him, and if he gives you something, it's gravy. Easy. So I think one of the big discriminants here is going to be, obviously, the only way United are playing European football next year is if they win the Europa League.
Yeah.
If they do not win the Europa League, maybe that's when you consider, maybe things change because you don't need a bazillion players, right?
Yeah.
Diogo Dalla, 2028 plus a year's extension. You keep him, yeah?
Well.
Oh.
I'm not a fan of Diogo Dalla.
I
think he is, as a defensive player, his defensive instinct is terrible. The amount of times you see him at the wrong end of the pitch when the opposition are attacking, and when he's going forward, he does attack very well, but his decision making is poor.
Would you move him on?
Do you know something? If somebody was prepared to pay a decent fee for him, I would. Because I think
do you think anybody's going to pay a decent fee for a Manchester United player?
Well, that is the problem.
Nusar Mazraoui, we both like. Yes,
Yeah.
he's staying. He locked up. 22 goals. You
Yeah.
can't say something
Yeah.
nice about a United player.
Especially if they're doing well.
We have Terrell Malacia, who's he was on loan last 6 months at PSV Eindhoven under our pal Peter Bosch. 2026. He's 25 years old. He's done at Old Trafford. Yeah, we agree.
He didn't cost a lot of money. Move him on. No big loss there.
On the training pitch, some of the players they're releasing: Johnny Evans, 37 years old, 2025. Yeah, no brainer. He can start coaching or doing whatever he wants at this stage. And Victor Lindelof, who I suspect you're going to be mean to.
I've already been mean to him by comparing to Diogo Dalot. Listen, he's been at United for 8 years. He can't head the ball. He's not very quick. He's not very strong. It's amazing that United have allowed players like Lindelof to stay for 8 years, and that is why they're in the situation they're in right now.
Final defender on our list here, Lisandro Martinez. He's 27 years old. He's got a deal through 2027, plus a 1-year extension. We both agree you keep him, but you do not extend him because of the bad injury he's had, and also you have that cushion of the extra year.
Yeah, everything's on ice with Lisandro because of the situation.
I'm not sure he is a viable long-term left back.
No, I agree.
Left-sided center back in the system, but at least we got to give him a chance to show it. All right, so moving on. And Andre Onana. I would keep Andre Onana. And the reason I would keep Andre Onana, I know obviously he's had some high-profile mistakes, is I think Andre Onana fits Amorim's system. You're going to hear this a lot in this conversation. Who fits the 3-4-2-1? Who does not? He's shown no inclination of moving away from that system because he's a ball-playing goalkeeper. You can find another ball-playing goalkeeper out there, probably. But I think Onana is actually going to be difficult to move because you spent a lot of money on him. And when you leave a club like Manchester United and for a transfer fee, you can only go to 10 or 15 other major clubs. And unless there's an opening at goalkeeper, nobody's going to pay you money to have Onana as a goalkeeper, as a backup.
No, right. First off, he's a ball-playing goalkeeper whose distribution isn't very good. So that doesn't really bode well for Andre Onana because you watch his distribution. It's either a long ball to Højlund, which gets headed straight back, or it's a long ball to the flanks, which usually goes out of play, and he can be caught out in possession a lot. So if he's a ball-playing keeper that isn't very good with distribution, he has to make up for it with his decision-making with his hands. You are kind of stuck with him because of the fee, the wages. So you have to keep Onana. I would try and sign a much better goalkeeper than Altay Bayındır to provide competition, and one that could actually take Onana's place.
The question is, so you would, rather than getting a reasonable backup goalkeeper to challenge Onana, you would go for a guy who's on Onana's level.
Absolutely.
You would spend serious money on a goalkeeper.
I don't think you need to spend serious money to find a keeper that's on Onana's level, even better. I mean, he's not that good.
All right.
The Red Devils are leading the race to sign Brazilian playmaker Cunha after opening talks with Wolves earlier in the month. Cunha was heavily linked with Arsenal and Chelsea in January but looks set for a move to Old Trafford after another impressive season at Molino. Ex-Premier League defender Sagna has described Cunha as a top player and says he would be an amazing signing for Manchester United. It's about how you're going to cope with that pressure with your teammates and a different atmosphere. It would be a good signing, but I'm not sure if it is the right signing for Manchester United. Any player can have a good impact at Manchester United. It's not only about one player, it's about the whole team. It will still be an amazing signing, but if it means that it's on him only to turn the old squad to a successful one, then I'm not sure. Manchester United are believed to be open to selling a number of attacking players to raise funds for Cunha and other Ruben Amorim transfer targets. Amorim is hoping to offload Marcus Rashford and Antony on permanent deals after sanctioning both their loan exits in January. Sagna believes Mount may also depart Old Trafford following a dismal spell at Manchester United and says it is the right time for Alejandro Garnacho to leave. United spent £60M to sign Mount from Chelsea in 2023 after watching the England midfielder lift the Champions League at Stamford Bridge. But Mount, 26, has struggled with injuries since leaving his boyhood club and scored just one goal for Manchester United. Mason Mount didn't give the impact that they expected, so he might leave, Sagna added. We didn't see much of him. I think it's the right time for Alejandro Garnacho to move on too. He started well, but he is at a stage where he needs to be playing more consistently. It doesn't seem right for him to be at Manchester United. The defense is aging, so maybe bring in more young and fresh players. You can change the whole team, but they need to focus on the goalkeeper first of all. They need a keeper that doesn't play out with his feet. A keeper must dive and stop the balls. Nowadays people and coaches are too focused on someone that can play with their feet. Before you can play with your feet, you need to stop taking too many risks.